Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, across the country, around the world. Welcome back to Planet Coaster. Jumping straight into the time lapse. We're going to start with this area over here where the train tracks bridge across the path and the little car path there. I got a few bridges from the workshop. And I tried putting them in place, but after a while I realized that section of the train tracks are not straight. It was auto-completed, so it's got a slight curve. So all these guys I try slotting in, and they just are not happy because everything is obstructed. I think I got that one to fit, but I don't like the look of it. I didn't go with it. We end up going back with this one, and I thought, okay, pull off those bottom pieces. Maybe it's a path collision thing with the path underneath, but it wasn't. It's that the tracks were curved. So after closing the park and working on the path and removing the supports underneath, I finally got the path to go straight out of the station, just, straight pieces straight back, and then we end up lining it up nicely so we can do this, and it ends up being a nice little support for the bridge there. I think I copy it again, and it ends up, yep, there it is right next to it. Eventually, maybe someday. Oh no, here I still had to curve the track correctly, I think. Maybe. I realized now, or later, I should have just built all this as an extension of the station. There goes the track building. But as an extension of the station, that would have ensured it would have been in a straight line, guaranteed from the station and the track. Everything would line up just nicely. But we got there eventually. Anyway, it's a nice little bookend well, not a bookend, but it's a nice little entrance to this area. It does remind me a lot of Disneyland, and I've got a few of these, the portals into whatever, yesteryear or whatever. But it reminds me a lot of that. Whoa. Oh yeah, the camera's being a little bit screwy. So there we got it straight. So that gives us the guideline for where it has to line up and get, finally. But it's a nice little entry there for the path, another little entry there for the what is it, the Oswald service car thing, whatever it's called. I'm pretty happy with this. It looks all right. It's a lot of wood, and I know we'll be using a lot of wood, especially this type of wood, over in the western area when we get there. But I think this kind of fits. The Main Street area is kind of a mix in a lot of ways, at least the way I've built it. It's kind of a mix between, your typical Main Street, Victorian-ish USA stuff, and I think a little bit of New Orleans Square. It's a little bit New Orleans Square-ish. So I think kind of having the wood there that leads to the wharf and stuff, and you'll see more further on as we add other things. It works out. It looks pretty good, I think. Oh yeah, I was looking at spots to try to add other things, because this was the first episode where I really added things after the winter update. So I was kind of looking at, okay, what are the other stores? Ooh, the ice cream. So we put an ice cream parlor here. First time with the enhanced park management control stuff. But this becomes an ice cream parlor. It's going to be a nice little yellow stucco building. It's a fairly straightforward looking little stucco building. I eventually go with, I think it starts off brown. I don't know why I was thinking of brown at first. It really, that looks like chocolate, which I guess would make sense, chocolate. But it's not what we end up going with. It's just, nah. At this point, I've kind of run out of inspiration, I suppose you could say, for Main Street, for what all it's going to look like, what I want it to look like. And we end up, here we go. We're going to change it all to that different color. There we go, yellow. So it's kind of yellow. It's a little bit, it's the simple stucco, it's a little bit mission style looking in the end. But it works, and it's going to have windows and all the things, and it's fitting for Main Street. But at this point, like I said, I wasn't even referencing anything from Disneyland. I was honestly getting a little tired of building all these things, because they weren't that creative. They were just more buildings, and there's only so much you can do with them. Like if there were, there's already a lot of options, but if there were other window options, more window options, and honestly, my mouse was being weird. Have a new mouse now makes a huge difference. The scroll wheel was just shot on my last one. Something I would like to see in the game, speaking of, I guess, is the option to, let's see, oh, doors. Actually having doors on buildings that the guests then walk through and use. I know that's a lot to ask for because that's hard to make that, function. But I think that'd be a neat function. Otherwise, everything's just archways because wow, yeah, the mouse was jumping back and forth again. But otherwise, everything's just archways. Or I think the game expects you, or not the game, not even the creators, but it's like you're supposed to, how to say this? You're supposed to be, wow, totally lost train of thought. You're supposed to be, putting all the stores, all the shop fronts just right up the front of the building, where I think it's more fun and more realistic, especially, like Disney style, to have it be up in the back. So from here, yeah, we're still looking at other shops. Like I said, I was kind of experimenting with the new shops you got with, what's it called? With the winter update. And so next, we're going to finish this guy off. I think we're just about done with it. Oh yeah, a few more lampposts, just squeezing those in. I honestly recorded this section of this video a couple weeks ago, so watching it now, I'm kind of going, oh my gosh, what did I do? So at this point now, we switch over to this side, and looking at the map, the concept map for the park that was proposed, there, it looks like it's I think the Riverside Cafe, Riverside Diner, something like that. I have to look at it. I think it's Riverside Cafe. I have to look at it to be sure. But it looks like it's a nice little cafe, kind of tucked back against a little bit of the hill here that is there for the train station. So I figured, all right, we can do this and make it kind of nice and homey looking. I end up using a couple of the pizza joints, the little something pizza, Petey's Pizza, Fry's Pizza, I forget what it's called, but they're new pizza joints for the game, and they work out. It serves pretty well as a little diner station. Yeah, floating wall. Why? Yeah, I can't see what that is. But the little pizzas. Unfortunately, as far as signage goes, there's not that much signage for the new restaurants. Like for this, I looked later. There's two bright lit up slices of pizzas, which is great, but not something that I really want for that. So yeah, put some nice railing on the front of it. I'm really happy with how this little building and this little area came out. The whole of the wharf, the boardwalk there that runs along the rivers along the front side here, I really like how it all ended up turning out. It looks and feels appropriate and correct, and the more and more I do stuff now, especially to this area that's getting a little more detailed, a little more in depth, the more it's looking to me like a Disney park. I'm really, really happy with it. Yep, there we go. Just a little supporting there. So that's a simple little building. It's going to be lit, but it's nothing crazy, nothing complex. There's not even, like I said, any big signage for the restaurants. I eventually, yeah, see, there it goes. Those two slices of pizza. That's it. I eventually do put some signs on the edge. Oh yeah, so I wanted to do a dining section. So on the workshop, I've been there before, but there were these little picnic tables with parasols. So I figured, okay, that's kind of a nice look for this area, and I really do like how it ended up looking. Yeah, so now we're just doing some set dressing for the building itself. I know that this building is color-wise, style-wise, a lot of things very reminiscent of the train station just up ahead, but it's just different enough, I think. Yeah, then we're lighting it, working on the nighttime lights. Blech. Good. Yeah, Riverside Cafe. Nice and lit, so you know what it is. And then we dress it up with trees, and I think some bushes over here, maybe? But this episode is a lot of trees. Well, I put in a lot of trees, I think. And like this whole space, yeah, there we go. Filling that in too, because otherwise it was kind of just a dead space. And I thought for a hot minute about putting in some sort of other ride there, but then I thought, no, what? Why? Why? In Disneyland, there are fewer now because they just cram more and more things in, but there are a few areas where there's not much going on. There's little transition spaces, like, around the backside of the Matterhorn and Space Mountain to Fantasyland, all that area. no attractions right there, nothing really going on. It's just a transitional space. So I figured, yeah, we'll do that. Oh, yeah, recolored the roof there. So I figured we'd leave that whole area as kind of a nice parky walkway, and just leave it simple. Nothing too crazy. Here we go with some, yeah, pathway decorations. And I realized, okay, these guys will be walking along the water here. Maybe they should have railing on, especially the areas it's between the water and the car path there. You don't want them to fall in on either end. So I figured we'd add the railing there just, as a safety precaution. I could have gone through and made some sort of railing, and that's what a lot of people do. But honestly, I'm trying to keep the parts count down. So doing it without that just makes life just a little bit easier. And all the lanterns, we're just using the simple lanterns, the stock lanterns here along the boardwalk. Other areas, like, the Main Street area, we use the fancy Main Street lamps. But here, just using those. And I think it's really coming together. All right, so now we're stepping over here, making a little building, and it ends up looking a little funny the first time I make it. You'll see in a moment. But these are some donuts. I think it's Missy's Donuts, something like that. This is just a little tiny building, just made out of wood planks or wood battens. And at first I make it 4x1 and 2 layers tall, and I try to flatten it out, and I'm like, yeah, that's no, that doesn't work. It really, I try. Yeah, the donut signs aren't much either, but I go and I go with it for a minute or two. I even put windows on that second floor, and that's when I go, no, I can't. I really can't. It's just if it were a deeper building, maybe, but because it's so shallow like that, it just looks kind of stupid. So here we go, deleting that. I thought, put that down here. How? No. What do we do? So I figured out, just make it, a little slope to it. I mean, it honestly, this little building, it looks kind of like, like a trailer, like a modular trailer type of thing, like it's portable almost. But for a little snack shack, it kind of works. And we get the donuts. Just trying to find an appropriate sign. There we go. Donuts. Trying to find the correct signage and colors. There we go. And that, I move it in. Beautiful. So that ends up being that building. I do go back toward the end, and I add a little back supporting wall to kind of close up the gap between that building and the whatever it is, the plaza thingy behind it, the white building. And over here, we put in I can't even remember. I think the fries, the Monsieur Fritas, and a Tiki Chiki? Yeah, I think a Tiki Chiki. But I was having a little bit of problems with the path. I wanted to do them on the grid and have these things connect, but it just wasn't having it. It really wasn't. Anyway, we get it connected. We get it connected, and it works out. I was playing with another brick color real quick, then I said, nope, that doesn't look good. So this ends up being a nice little brick building. Kind of reminds me, a little bit of, the brick buildings across the way, like the City Hall and the fire station. It's a similar material. There's only so many materials of that type. And at first, when it was this big, cuboid thing, I was like, that just looks too blocky for this area. So I decide, hey, you know what, let's give it a patio. And when I did that, I think that gave the building a lot more character. And then adding the windows and railings and whatnot, here we go with the railings, helped give the building way more character than just having that flat, boxy brick thing. Because who really wants something flat and boxy like that? Put the nice, kind of a nice little doorway there and nice windows on it. I wanted to put like this little table and chairs, but anything I have like that, they're made to sink into the ground. So they're not really made to be on a second floor because the bottoms of those wood pieces would sink down into the ceiling of the area that the guests are going to walk through in just a minute. So nothing on there for now. End up putting the railings on here. Yep. Railings up on top. Like I said, a very similar architectural style to the train station, but I'm sorry, not the train station, the fire station, that place. But still has a little bit of its own character. The fire station is a little more ornate. This is a bit simpler, just with the concrete coping, or course, I think it's called there. Yeah, there we go. So just there, and it's a weird thing. They don't center where you think they're going to when you copy paste multiple pieces. They don't go where you think they're going to go. But yeah, that's that building. Like I said, pretty simple, but has enough character, I think, that it looks right. Then I had to support the corner, of course, because it was kind of, the ground was tipping away. But happy with that building and the way it turned out. Oh yeah, trying to light it up with some more of the Main Street lamps. Good. Yes, Main Street lamps. Excellent. And yeah, that's about the last building really to go into Main Street, or the Main Street downtown area. I'm not really sure what I want to call it, but for now we're just going to call it Main Street. After this, yeah, I took a break and came back to it, I think. After this, what do we do? No, we were done with that. Totally trying to remember what I did next. Oh yeah, I lied. That wasn't the last building. I'm looking at all this space. That's why I'm zooming around. Like, what do I do? So we end up putting, gosh, I'm not even sure what that is. Something else. I really can't see what it is from here. But we end up putting something else, small little building here. Initially, again, I did the same type of thing where I made it tall. There you go. Made it tall, but I realized afterward, I'm like, oh, that's too tall. Everything's that tall, and it just looks kind of weird. Everything looks really blocky. So I decide, well, first we recolor it to something different. And there's the brown. Something different. And instead of the really tall thing, we end up chopping it down a bit so that it doesn't look quite as huge. A few different reasons. Partly because I was just tired of the same scale of buildings. Also, I wanted to get some forced perspective in. That's a trick that they use in Disneyland and California Adventure and many theme parks. But it's a way that makes, like when you're at the foot of Main Street at the train station, looking back or looking down toward the castle, the way the buildings get smaller as you look down the street makes the castle look taller. And then if you're leaving the park from the castle to Main Street, the buildings go from shorter to taller, makes Main Street look shorter, so it looks like it's not as long a trek to get out of the park. Anyway, I want to do a little of that there with that building, add a little bit of, like I said, some forced perspective to get it going there, to make it not seem as crazy. And this corner here, I didn't really want to put another building in there, but I thought, you know what, this is a nice little building, nice little structure here. Why don't we give it like a little bitty garden? And so they have their little topiary garden. I think the rest of this video now is just, oh, there we go. Yeah, finishing these walls, trying to figure out where to put them. Nope, that shows up. That looks weird. So did a few other things. End up settling on having it, I think, about 2/3 of the way back. Otherwise, anywhere else and it just sticks in. Again, another point where half-width walls would be nice. Planet Coaster people. And then, yeah, it was 2.5, so there was part clipping, but whatever. I was going to put a little fence here, but I couldn't really find anything. Do I do? Oh, I just do that. Yeah, simple. I think at this point, yeah, the rest of it is just trees. A whole bunch of trees, filling things out, making it look like it's, still a little bit of wilderness. Using a variety of trees that are kind of, normal, but nice looking. A few oak trees, a few Masula trees, I believe. Oh yeah, and then the last thing I actually do is I work on this guy, because I was never happy with this. It was just a kind of a placeholder. So for now, I just put those, and yeah, and then that, it kind of gives it like an octagonal thing. But again, it's like the portal into the park. And I didn't want to play with the track too much, but I wanted to get this just to the point where it's lined up, and then, yeah, then scoot it and center it so that it's still the portal into the park and not horrible. I was looking at other things, maybe a bridge here. Nah, I might come back to that later and bridge up those supports back there, but it's not like a critical thing for me to do. And again, filling in kind of the dead space with the variety of your typical average trees that one sees. And here, oh yes, I'm about to open up the park again, and we're going to have guests come flooding back in. So that's about it for the Main Street section. In our next episode, we jump in to in the map, it looks like it's a gravity-fed canal boat ride. We don't have that, obviously, in the game, so we make it into a log flume ride. I actually am quite happy with that. I'm actually going to be recording the voiceover for that in just a moment. So here come the guests streaming back into the park. I think this is still running at 3 times speed, but yeah, the lines in the front of the park build up really fast, and the guests are here. And then we'll go to some other cinematic shots for all the things I worked on today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out. If you like it, hit subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, pass the word. I will catch you later.